Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fresh Concrete. I'm delighted to welcome you to what is the first of this year's Fresh Concrete events, produced in collaboration between the Concrete Centre and the Building Centre. So my name is Elaine Toogood. I'm Director of Architecture and Sustainable Design at the Concrete Centre, and I'm going to be hosting today and the rest of the series. And I will be introducing you in just a moment to our speaker for today's event. So if you're not aware, this is an online series that's been created to share just some of the wide-ranging innovative practices and new types of concrete emerging, and many of them, and most of them, I would say, to address climate change, whether that's through mitigation or adaptation, or both. Now, these are essentially technologies that bring a fresh approach and fresh thinking to the way that we make and use concrete. So it's a privilege to be able to curate this series. It's also been quite a challenge as well, I must admit. There has been and continues to be such a wide variety of innovation taking place, particularly in recent years. Now that's in the way concrete's manufactured, the materials used to make it, construction techniques, even new uses for concrete. And through this series so far, over the last couple of years, the innovations we have featured have included self-healing concrete, 3D printing, design for disassembly, carbon capture in concrete manufacture, use of graphene, alternative cements, a way of growing concrete, and even concrete that can charge electric vehicles. Now, if you're not aware, the recordings of each of these innovations are freely available for you to listen to. And each one is presented by the people directly involved with their development. So fresh from the innovators' mouths, so to speak. And the link to how you can have a look at these websites and on YouTube are available on that slide. I'm just going to go back there. So that's at theconcretecentre.com. And if you look at Fresh Concrete, also on the Building Centre's website. Oh, I've gone back too. There we go. So now today's talk takes a slightly different approach. So rather than focusing on just one innovation or area of innovation, we have invited Claude Lauria from the Global Cement and Concrete Association to talk about a variety of innovations. And this is through the Innovandi Open Challenge. Now, this Open Challenge is a global initiative. It uniquely brings together tech startups with the world's leading cement and concrete companies. And that is to help accelerate the deployment of a range of new technologies. And anybody who's been involved in anything to do with innovation understands that it's that critical time from the innovation through, but it's the deployment and the upscaling is sometimes one of the challenges. So we are going to be hearing more about that from Claude in a moment. The common theme for these innovations is technologies to assist in the decarbonisation of the industry. And Claude's there, it's fantastic. So I'm going to introduce Claude. Hi, Claude, nice to see you.
Hi, Ellen.
Great.
Glad to be with you.
Well, welcome. So Claude is Director of Cement Innovation and ESG Director at the Global Cement and Concrete Association. And she's going to present some of the recent successes, also some of the ongoing activity linked to carbon capture, use and storage, new binders for low carbon concrete, and all of these assisted through that Innovandi challenge. So I think we've just lost you again. You need to put your camera on.
Yes, I think it's my camera playing trick with me, but as soon as I'm speaking, I'm there.
Fantastic. So maybe if you would, I will stop sharing. If you would like to share your slides now to get going. And while you're doing that.
Yes, just give me a minute.
Fantastic. So
moving to slideshow mode. That should be all right, is it?
Yeah. That's
okay. Great. And
so just before you start, then I just want to remind everybody that there will be some time for questions at the end of the session. So please, as we're going along, put your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. I'll endeavour to ask as many of Claude as we can when we get to the end. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Claude. I'll then switch off my camera and
thank you.
And you can.
Thank you so much, Helen. And good day, everyone, wherever you are. Before I go into really our open challenge and do the innovation, I like to set things in the context, and I believe that most of the people in the audience know how an essential building material concrete is, but I often like to give this global perspective, because that might not be the case in the UK. But if we look at global level, and this is a quote from Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, but 3/4 of the infrastructure that will exist in 2050 has yet to be built. So and we all know that we have a challenge with concrete, is that its production generate CO2 emissions. Our sector is responsible for 7 to 8% of CO2 emission, of global man-made CO2 emissions, and this is where our industry at global level has committed to achieve net zero in 2050, and this is the GCCA roadmap towards net zero concrete. And it goes through all levers, what I used to call the traditional levers, which is efficiency in design and construction, efficiency in concrete production. This will help to deliver 1/3 of the planned emission reduction. Then we have the usual reduction in our production process, which is saving in cement and binders. So it's clinker substitution, possibly new binders. Also the savings at our kiln, possibly also with new technologies, decarbonization of electricity, the recarbonation. And then for 1/3 of the emission reduction, we rely on this new technology that is carbon capture, use and storage. So you see it's whole set of levers that we have. And in fact, innovation is going to be key to deliver those new technologies, and also the existing technologies, and push them to their full potential. And at the GCCA, we really, everything we do is around this net zero delivery. It's concrete promotion, it's all the sustainability aspect. It's not only greenhouse gas emission and climate change, but it's also nature agenda, health and safety agenda, the water positivity agenda, circularity, but then also 1/3 of our resources, even at the GCCA, are related to the innovation agenda. And this is really unique for an association, and I think we are the only sector to have this those platforms, because really innovation is key to unlock our net zero future, and also to ensure the long-term viability of our sector. Innovation is going to help to find new solutions, but is also going to, for the levers that we know, is going to help to drive the cost of the new technologies down, and to increase their efficiency. So even for technologies that are already at high level of technology readiness level, the innovation part is really important to make the technology scalable, and bring their deployment in place to achieve this net zero agenda. And so GCCA has its platform that is called Innovandi. Innovandi, I like to explain it, it comes from Latin, and it's the art of innovating in Latin. So that's what the meaning of these words is. So it's our GCCA innovation arm, and we are under this brand, running actually 3 world-class platforms, all aiming at accelerating and fostering innovation to help the decarbonization agenda. So we are only looking at innovation that will deliver tangible CO2 emission reductions. So we have, and that's not the focus of my talk today, but I will start with this. We have our Innovandi Global Cement and Concrete Research Network. I think we can proudly claim we are the sole sector to have such a network in place, and the network ties together the academic world. So it's 45 leading universities across the world that are actually working together with key players, not only from the cement industry, but also from the equipment supplier side and the admixture company side. And those constitute a network of more than 450 scientists that are working on two types of projects. The academic come with their in-kind contribution, and each academic has to offer a project, and typically a project is a PhD student work or a postdoc work to the network. And the industrial, they come with fees, with money, and that money is reinvested into what we call core projects. And core projects, the topics are decided by the network, which is trying to prioritize what are the research needs. And then a core project are typically a partnership of 3 to even sometimes 4 academic partners supervised by industrial mentors and delivering tangible research results. If we put all this all together, this is a network that is worth more than 10 million of equivalent cost of PhD research. So it's really important, and it's a great way for industry and companies to leverage their research budget and mutualize cost and benefits of such a network. And then, and this is on what I want to focus now, we have the side which is more in the open innovation field, and which is the collaboration with the startups. And this is one very big thing, and then something we started more recently. But first and foremost, this is what we call our Innovandi Open Challenge. And that we have also more recently launched our Innovandi Entrepreneur Network. And I will finish with a few words on that one as well. So our Open Challenge is really, we developed it after we had a research network. And it's a unique accelerator where we actually organize for startups to partner directly with our members. So as Ellen said in her introduction, we are actually setting a challenge to the world, and the teams, we are really trying to run the teams over deep tech innovations that will actually require substantial investment or acceleration. And we are now busy with the third of such challenge. So the first year we launched was in 2022, and it was around carbon capture, and then around also use innovations. And the first challenge, we sourced the startup with the help of Techstar. And over 100 startups were sourced, and 20 were invited to pitch. I will come back to the flow of activities, and actually 6 startups made it to consortium. In 2023, we grew up with experience. The baby was a kind of teenager, and we changed the topic because we think we have to change topic regularly, and that one focused on new material and ingredients for low carbon concrete. And there we sourced over 70 startups, and 15 were invited to pitch, and actually are now in working with our members. We have actually very recently announced 4 consortium, and I will describe what they are, because I think that's really interesting for everyone. And those consortium are going to participate in our demo day on June the 6th in Bangkok. That is along the GCCA annual CEO and leader conference and gathering. And as we were still busy with trying to fix the consortium of the second challenge, we already launched the third sourcing with, which was back onto carbon capture, use and storage. And there actually we had also almost 100 startups applying, but 29 startups were shortlisted, and I will also slightly run through the list. And we're actually today and yesterday busy with pitch days. So maybe a comment. What we see is 100 startup source, but the quality of the sourcing this year was just amazing. When you see the amount of startups that were invited to pitch and that triggered interest from the GCCA members. So that's how maybe I should actually have presented these slides first, but that's how it's run. So you have on the slide this year timing so that you have an idea of how it runs. But we make a call to the world through a communication campaign to say now challenge is open, startup of the world apply. This is what industry has to offer you, or this is what industry is ready to do to help you, because the important thing, and I really always hear my members saying this, we want startups to succeed. We want technologies to be there. And then there is this pre-selection phase, which is done on the basis of a file of PowerPoint, videos, documents that startup have been asked to submit, are screened by our experts. So each of the GCCA member can appoint experts to judge the startups. And then there is the top startups are invited to come and pitch. And we often get the question, what are your criteria? We are in the field of open innovation here. So it's not that we have a set of fixed criteria. You know, there are things that startup have to provide. When we launch a challenge, we usually clearly explain what we want, what we are not looking for. But apart from that, the judgment is mainly based on our members' expertise, on industry experts, on, of course, the novelty that the idea brings, on possibly its scalability, what industry can do. But I can't really give you a set list of criteria. This is really a case-by-case analysis based on expertise. And I think that's really something important to understand in the field of innovation. And then the pitch day, startups are prepared by Devika Wattal, who is working with us as consultant, and she really prepares the startup for the pitch day, assists them to really present in the right way to our industry. So there is a lot of support for the startup in this process. And then there is this whole matching exercise where we are then helping to marry the startups with the members who are interested in forming coalitions of the willings, or the one who are interested, sometimes depending on geography, sometimes depending on interest. So really, this is a unique accelerator. You may have heard about many challenges, many accelerator program, many companies offering to develop such challenges, but really this is one of its kind. It's industry-led. There is this direct contact between the startup and the members. So this is really essential, is the fact that both are working directly. And then this is also what we offer to the startup, is really access to our plans, to the lab. You will see some of the consortium are about testing material. It's the expertise, of course, and this assistance to move from an idea to a prototype. So to run through what are now, because I know you're interested, and to link a little bit to what Elaine introduced. So those were the 6 startups that were formed during our first challenge, so Carbonoro, which was a capture technology based on BMI's solvent, carbon upcycling, which is more related to concrete recycling. Cumtech is a really interesting technology to dry whatever Fortera, I don't think they require more introduction. And WEDA is the startup that was most known before as MOF, which is Metal Organic Framework, and carbon biocapture is a capture technology based on algae. And this one actually has a pilot up and running. So those are those are the startups that were selected and invited to pitch for the 2023 challenge, and those are the four consortium were announced from this, and these are then the four startups that will come and present in Bangkok at what we call our demo day. The first startup that has been selected here, I mean, by no mean the consortium mean that there is an hierarchy. The consortium numbers do not mean there is an hierarchy of those four startups, right? It's not that we compare them to each others. So NVCore is actually a new technology that enables the conversion of a wide range of mineral into cementitious material at low temperature. And I like to read the quotes of the startup here, because here, if you read it, NVCore says it has been a transformative journey for them, this collaboration with, well, 9 of our members. This is a huge consortium, right? Is actually for them a validation of their process, and they say in themselves that they gain access to and parallel access to invaluable resources. So that was the way NVCore already felt about this challenge even before starting the collaboration, because also we see that there are already a lot of learnings for both startup and our members, even during all those discussion about consortium formation and so on. And even if a consortium is not formed, a lot of learning have happened, and everyone has grown from those discussions. And also sometimes no consortium is formed, but we know that startups are pursuing their journey with 1 or 2 of our members, or are just in the technology. Interestingly, now in the third challenge, we see startup from the first challenge coming back and having developed their ideas further and then making it through the system. Queen's Carbon is the second consortium, and that's a new manufacturing technology to produce cementitious material. It's at low temperature, so hence having less energy use. Cement is actually an electrochemical route to produce cement. Five companies who are collaborating with cement. And then the last one is Neocrete, which is a nano activator to activate natural pozzolan to improve or enhance their performance. So those are the four consortium that were launched. And then for, as I said, this year challenge, we went back to carbon capture, use and storage. And I've put this forward because I think it illustrates nicely when we make the call, okay, this is what we are looking for, this is what we are not looking for. And that's the best way we have found so far to describe to the startup world and the innovators world what would be fit to apply and what wouldn't. And then we also give an indication of what judging criteria will be, although as I explained earlier, it's mostly expertise. And that's the list of startups that are currently pitching to our members. So I can't say much more. It's impressive list, and we are in the middle now of the pitch day, and the quality of the pitch is to my view higher than it was on the previous challenge, because we are all learning from this. And this is my last slide, because I know I'm running at the end of the 20 minutes. But also we have thought that in addition to this, it would also be nice to create an entrepreneur network work for the startup that are related to our industry. It's so far mainly made of startups we have been collaborating with, but we're also reaching out to any startup. And what we are offering there to the startup is a place where we can build an ecosystem for them. So really for fresh concrete startups, let's put it this way. And then we are putting together a mentorship program for those startups. Of course, they will get access to first-hand information to the GCC activities, but also our Innovandi Open Challenge, and possibly organize networking events for them, or events where they can be put in touch with possible investors and companies. So I'm at the end of my presentation. I think I will stop sharing my screen, and it all works. You are there, Helen.
Yeah, I'm here. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Claude. So yeah, what an excellent start to this year's series. Not just one innovation. We've got a little insight there into 10 of them, with some more happening. And thank you so much for stepping out of today's pictures, because I realize it's a very busy time, but quite a pertinent time to be talking about and sharing this with the rest of the world as well. So thank you. So we've got a couple of questions coming through, and it would be a reminder to people to put their questions in the Q&A as we're going along. I wanted to start with a question first, which is there any, we've just had a little snapshot of just some of the innovations that are there, and obviously this is recorded, so people will be able to then go and have a look on those different innovations, those websites, and find out a bit more. But is there one or two in particular that you wanted to expand upon a little bit? I know you mentioned that there was a pilot scheme already up and running for the algae, for the, I think, was that the bio concrete? I can't remember the name of that.
Yeah, it's the algae. That's a capture project. I'm not sure I want to expand on one specifically, but I think maybe what I have not explained, and that is useful to explain, is that I like to say there are three type of things we can do with the startup depending on where they are. And we, part of the pitch day is asking the startup, what are you expecting from industry? What are you asked to the industry? And from there, projects are designed, in fact, and then there are discussions on how we can assist. And it can go from, this is where I have my three buckets maybe to explain what we do with the startup. One bucket is very simple. They have a material like let's say neocrete, for example, and it's okay, let's test this activator on different product or different SCMs, right? And then, so this is what I call simply testing. So the startup would even give its material to our members, and our members would play with the new stuff, right? Or material would go to the startup, and the startup would then play on different material, and then within the consortium people would exchange the results, right? And then we say, okay, this new thing has worked well with this, less well with that. We can confirm there are good results on this. So the testing is an important things we are doing. Then it can just be, and we had a few of those in the previous challenge, is pre-feasibility or feasibility studies. So it can be the case, for example, often with carbon capture, that the technology comes from another sector, for example, and then it's okay, is it feasible in cement? And then it's a feasibility study that is then financed by the members for the startup. Or we could go as far, and we may see this more now in this third challenge, given the level, is piloting. And this is the case of both Nueda and carbon biocapture, where there are pilots that have been installed at one of our member sites. And interestingly, in collaboration with other members. Of course, you always have to choose a site where this is happening, right? But other members also have access to the results. So I think that's important. I think it's useful for everyone to, people can search about all the startup, and I am often very careful in not promoting one more than another, right?
Mm.
So that's why I'm trying to not to put some startups too much forward. I think if you go on the GCCA website, we have done a really nice page, and you can really click and see all the startups, and we are pretty open on we are open on who the finalists were, and then what are the consortium that have been formed. And most of the startups would have a site where you will find information about their technology.
Fantastic. I know I totally understand that with regards to one or the other. We can share that link perhaps then with the people who are on the call when we do our follow-up email. But I think you mentioned there that there may be a pilot, but it's still in collaboration with other members. And I think that's fair to say one of the key benefits of the format that you've created is that collaboration across different manufacturing organizations, because then that's where the acceleration happens, isn't it? Because it's learning not just within one company with an NDA, but it's actually across the board, so that there are multi people seeing and benefiting and sharing. So it's a knowledge exchange at innovation level, which is often one of the challenges with innovation, isn't it?
No, and I think it's unique, and it's not always easy to manage, right? But really, yes, it's this collaboration and this stand of each of our member looking his own corner about a startup. You also create an emulation. It's of course good in such innovative domain, that different opinions by different experts, and one person will trigger another a person question, and yes, you have this collaboration, and yes, and this is really a key thing that GCCA is doing, is both catalyzing action and enhancing collaboration towards this net zero agenda.
Excellent. So you mentioned on the website that's a key place to find about something to do with the innovations that are happening. Does that website also provide an update on progress with regards to that, or is there I'm wondering what the sort of the time frame is for reporting, if there is successes or progress? How is that managed in terms of that being shared to the wider community? One of the things we recognize with Fresh Concrete is there's a real appetite for people wanting to know what's happening, but they clearly also want to know when's it going to be available, or what's the time frame of evolution, which is almost impossible.
So not typically, the time for sharing is our demo day.
Okay.
So at what we call demo day, this is the end point in principle of the consortium. So the consortium are working towards demo day. I say in principle because this year not everything will be finished for demo day, but this is really the moment where what can be shared publicly, because we also have to acknowledge that the one paying a research or being in a consortium have access to more details than the rest of the world, right? There must be benefits, but where overall results are presented to the world. So our demo day is taking place in Bangkok on 6th June. This is Thursday afternoon in 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks time. Bangkok time afternoon, so that will be the morning in the UK. And it's possible to join it in person, but also an online broadcast will be provided. And if people want to know what was presented at the previous demo day, the one from the first challenge, it's also available online.
Excellent.
So this is public.
Okay, so those were also on the GCCA website.
Yes.
So you can have a look at those previous
Yeah.
demo days. So there's been one demo day so far, which was the first series, and then what's being presented in June was the 2023 series. Okay, and then what you're doing today and yesterday is for the next phase. So the
yes, and
wow.
Now we are selecting for pitching, and then there will be a demo day next year, probably around this time of the year next year, but one step at a time, huh?
Well, yeah, well, definitely keeping you busy. Okay. And so, I mean, there's a question that's come through in terms of the scale and availability of these technologies and when they might come through. That's almost an impossible question to answer, isn't it? Because they're all going to depend. They're very different types of technologies happening at different scales, different part of the manufacturing process.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say about that? I mean, we often
No.
talk within the Concrete Centre about responsible innovation. Clearly, concrete is so important as and is, you know, its durability and reliability is one of its key factors. So there's always a sort of time that's needed for the testing before it can be, you know, implement, you know, before we can, as architects, engineers, start specifying it. Is there anything more you wanted to talk about that?
No, I mean, as you said, I don't think I can make a one-size-fit-all answer about timing and scalability. Also, because we are not picky on technology readiness level for the startup. So you still have startups applying to our challenge that are very low TRL, and then some others that are more close to commercial scale. So already the answer wouldn't be the same. And also we see, you know, also believe it's hard. I believe and that was not said yet, we are also offering to the startup a platform to shine, and it's impressive to see how easier it is for startup that have been in our challenge and that were amongst the finalists or even the consortium, and then you see that it's easier for them to get investors interested and then so without giving a time frame, I truly believe that we are shortening the time frame that is needed to go to market. So and this is actually why we call our program also an accelerator. So one of the, I'm not going to say how long it takes, but one of our objectives is to ensure that this doesn't take too long before the technology is known. And then on your comment on, yes, concrete has to be, you know, durable and has to keep its key attributes, you know, of being safe, being resilient, and all those amazing properties of concrete. But of course, I think that most of those new technologies can already be used in possibly non-structural application. And then I believe a first step for those technologies is probably then first the niche markets, you know, and then you can see how the product or the material do behave in non-structural application first, and then possibly go to applications where we need to ensure the durability and the safety of the product.
Yeah, so effectively sort of trial in use through low risk applications. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's very sensible advice. If there are any innovators listening in, which I'm sure there might be. And in fact, on that note, I guess the next question is: Are you anticipating that there's going to be Innovandi number 4?
Of course.
Excellent.
There is no doubt. There is going to be a number 4. I can't really say exactly when. I don't think that the world would not allow us to stop. This is something people are expecting, and it is. I proudly say it's such a success that no, for sure we need to continue.
Fantastic. So how do people is there a sort of list, or is there a place to sign up to get notification of when the next call out is? Is it just tapping into GCCA social media to know when it happens? What would you advise to an innovator who's thinking, oh, if you know, the next one, if it's suitable for me, I'd like to get involved?
I would say innovator startups, you can always join our entrepreneur network, because not only you will have first-hand information on what's next, but you will also have all kind of advices to learn how to pitch, for example, to our industry, or what are good tricks to put all to be listened to. I would say, and then of course just follow GCCA social media. That's the best thing I can advise. We're quite active on LinkedIn and X, but just LinkedIn is sufficient, I think. And then whenever there is a new challenge, we really broadly advertise it in the relevant magazine. Of course, we haven't gone through the same publication for the carbon capture and the new ingredient one, but we are broadly advertising. I think that, yeah.
Excellent. I think that advice about joining the entrepreneur network is a very good one, actually. And so that is on your website as well. I think
Yes.
I think we're going to need to gathering some of these so that we can share and get people to do that. So I think that's a fantastic way to end. I think the questions. Thank you so much, Claude, for giving that presentation. It's really exciting, and I realize that you're very busy, and it's fantastic actually that you're very busy doing all of this, because I think it's clearly what is what's needed. So thank you for everybody who's attended, and I want to just then thank you for that, but also to alert you to the fact I'm going to share my screen, if I can, to talk to you about the next event that we are running. Thank you, Claude. And that is that the very next Fresh Concrete event will take place in a month's time on a Thursday again. So that's the 20th of June at 1 o'clock. Now, this is going to be focusing on Mimicrete. So that is an innovative vascular delivery system that is embedded in concrete to release self-healing agents. It's been newly patented, or it should have done, but I'm not sure if it's imminent or it's already happened, not quite sure. But it's also currently being trialed for use in rail infrastructure. And that presentation will be delivered by Dr. Liz Sijing Lee. She's co-founder and chief operating officer for Mimicrete. So you can book through the Concrete Centre and the Building Centre websites right now, I believe. It's all up and running. And so that's the last thing I want to say. Please do tune in. And just thanks again for our speaker today, Claude. Really excellent. And thank you all for attending, and hopefully see you next month.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thanks, Claude.